Hey Brobots, let me tell you the story of how we met with Kow Yokoyama Sensei and he announced me as his official international Maschinen Krieger ambassador and gave me the title Linc Sensei. Hey guys, we're just back from Japan with loads of stories to tell. Now this one is particularly special for me. We didn't plan this as a business meeting or anything to do with Maschinen Krieger at all. We had organized a family meeting, a family meetup with the Yokoyama-san family and my family. Because the Yokoyama-san family, both Mr. and Mrs. Yokoyama-san, have known little Tabitha since she was like this big. I think one of the first Maschinen Krieger events that we went to, Tomoe arrived holding little Tabitha in a green jumpsuit like this. So particularly, I think Yokoyama-san, Sensei Yokoyama-san, he has met Tabitha so many times after as she was growing up. It's been a couple of years, so we had a little bit of extra time when we were all together. So I approached him and said, you know, could we let's have a family meetup over coffee and cake. You know, to which Yokoyama-san replied, yeah, I'm just actually, we'll be back from the Kyushu show, let's get together. One of the coolest things, and I thought the main thing we would meet up about was that Mrs. Yokoyama-san, so I can't say both, I feel really bad saying a Japanese name without san at the end. Please forgive me for using both. If you are speaking with Japanese people, me too, you have to choose one. You either say Mr. or san, Mrs. or san. Choose which one's more comfortable for you. So Mrs. Yokoyama-san is a doll maker. She's actually become very, very good at it. Over the, I've known them 10 plus years, both of them. Every time I would visit the home and studio, Mrs. Yokoyama would have a bunch of Blythe dolls, I think it's pronounced, up, and she's gradually become more of a custom maker. I mean, you can't be married to Yokoyama Sensei without wanting to build and customize things, right? So obviously that's kind of rubbed off on her. She was really motivated by the photo that my wife Tomoe shared quite a few years ago. It's a little photo, I'll put it up now. It's little tabs, and you can see the determination on her face there as she tries to protect her great-grandmother from the rain. And Mrs. Yokoyama was very, what's the correct English word? Inspired, enamored by this photo. It really touched her. So she then endeavored to scratch build it in doll form. And it looks like this. It's just an amazing piece of work, isn't it? We had, I had a little bit of goosebumps when I was looking at the doll together with my little girl. It's just amazing. So we talked about that. I presented Yokoyama-san with the Real Colors book from the AK team. Actually, I should keep that for a separate discussion because that was actually really cool. But as we got to discussing things towards the end, I could tell Yokoyama-san was still thinking about something. And actually, by this stage, I was quite pulled back. And mostly it was my wife discussing things with Yokoyama-san and diagonal across the table. And he was asking various things about my current business and what we're doing, where everything is happening. Because, he's very interested in these things. And the Japanese way of doing things and, say, our English-speaking world way of doing things is ever so slightly different. Japanese people, and I understand this feeling also as a Japanese speaker, that you feel that it doesn't go overseas, that the language barrier is real. And for those friends of mine who visited Japan, and if you don't speak Japanese, you feel that language barrier is real, right? So as an island country, they feel quite, separated from the rest of the world. My wife was very adept in getting the idea across that, yes, we're based in Australia, but being as I'm and also a passable English speaker, I actually have reach to the English-speaking world. Those of you watching, you'll probably agree that actually 80% of my YouTube channel, 80% of you are based in the US. Thank you very much. In fact, on my analytics, this was interesting to explain to Yokoyama-san that yes, I'm based in Aussie. I'm very proud and happy about it, but my channel is actually US first, then it goes to the UK, Australia comes in third, then Canada and New Zealand round out our English-speaking countries, but then of course we've got a big chunk of Europe and Asia. Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia features very highly on my analytics as well. So, the English speaking reach is quite broad, despite where you might be geographically based. I understand for most of you that's probably a very, of course, Linc, we knew that. It's a very common understanding, but coming between the worlds from, Japanese language and English language, it's quite different. Especially working for Japanese publications, I understood that feeling because we knew they might sell a little bit outside of Japan, but basically no, they're for domestic consumption. But if we make products now in English, they can be for international consumption. It's a totally different playing field, isn't it? So, Yokoyama-san, he'd obviously been thinking about this and he was directing the conversation in a certain way. I was not fully, I was listening passive mode, so I had no agenda. I was just sitting back, I was enjoying it. The cake and the coffee was pretty good, so I was quite focused on that as well. And it was chocolate gâteau with vanilla ice cream, and it was hazelnut coffee. It was so fancy. Yokoyama-san politely let Tomoe finish speaking, and he was sitting back a little bit, and his eyes a couple of times had gone, and he was obviously thinking it through. Then he kind of picks me up by eye as well. He goes, okay, now it's time. You are now the official international Maschinen Krieger ambassador for English. And I'll give you the title Linc Sensei. You're now the same level as Max Watanabe Sensei. Max Watanabe Sensei for Japan and Linc Sensei for the English-speaking world. Right? I'm waiting for it to be a gag. I was waiting for him to start laughing, like, only kidding. That kind of delivery, because he's a funny guy and he likes joking and he pokes fun at me, mad fun at me often too, right? Because, I'm that one guy in the studio who looks a little different from everybody else. But then he just smiled at us and I kind of, I must have been going like this, and Tomoe looks at me and goes, so I didn't flick on. I didn't quickly catch on to what had just happened. And I must have sat there for a good 5, maybe even 10 seconds. You know how it feels really long when you're that one at a group party that everybody's waiting to speak? And then all I could say was, oh, thank you, Sensei. And that was it. Then the conversation moved on and he just mentioned a couple other things. Do your best. I expect to see more from you on this. Good luck. And that was that. So I'm still kind of getting over it. It's taken some time to kind of start processing this, etc. My first reaction was just to constantly start doing Rex Kwon Do jokes. Bow to your sensei, grab my wrist, the other wrist, my other wrist. I even looked up on Amazon to get the pants and the shirt and the head wrap and start doing Rex Kwon Do gags, but it might be somewhat inappropriate. So Tomoe said, no, put the credit card away, don't do that. But I think it would be pretty funny. Coming back to think about it, I've realized what a massive honor and responsibility this is. So, of course, I'm going to keep doing my best. As always, I always work 110% on everything, so I'll keep doing my best. Now, I can imagine for some people watching this, there might also be some slight concerns. Number one, it's not a job. It's just a title that I carry with me as I go about my regular business. So there's no change. In fact, I did double check. I just said, Sensei, are you okay that I keep making a bunch of Gunpla stuff as well? And this was the first time he told me to make Gunpla. Previously, when I worked directly with him, it was a bit of a gag. He would introduce me to people. He's the one guy on my team who doesn't come from a Gunpla background. That's why he's so good. That was one of his gags, right? But this time he said, no. Do exactly what Max Sensei does. Make as much Gunpla as you want. And I realized that he understands, of course, that by making Gunpla as well, that's the big audience. It's cool stuff. That's where a lot of the action is in our hobby and industry. Gunpla is making sci-fi bigger and bigger. And as many of you have probably experienced yourself, if you initially found my content because of Gunpla, then you have seen Maschinen Krieger, and I know I've converted and enabled many of you to then try it out. So strategically, tactically, both for Kow Yokoyama Sensei, it's a really smart move, isn't it? So, in summary, That means that, day by day, there's absolutely no change in what I do. I will continue to work on Maschinen Krieger, Gunpla, Warhammer, Star Wars, various other genre, but also bringing it together. But it does mean we might have more products together in the future. I'm not sure how much of that I should spell out, but wouldn't it be cool if one day, if the stars align, if I could work together with Kow Yokoyama Sensei and do a Maschinen Krieger book in English? I'm not saying that's going to happen, but wouldn't that be cool? Hope that was a cool story and you enjoyed it. It was really fun and surprising for me too, and now I'm starting to really get into it. I think it'll be a really cool thing for us. It does show that over time the Maschinen Krieger property will be coming through, the force of my action and will be coming more towards us English speakers as well. I hope you're excited about that. And also, just before we go, a really quick heads up on some changes that will be happening here on my channel and with my content production. I mentioned last week that I've got the book deal, and that's really exciting. How that changes is that I won't be able to release all of my tutorials to the public. What I'll be doing is I'll be doing weekly build logs, and they'll be going up on my membership site on Patreon. And the publisher, all of the guys, Yokoyama-san, Linc Sensei, everybody's pretty happy with that. They understand that's a really good engine to help me going to produce this work together with them. This week, the tutorial will be painting the Maschinen Krieger Volkjahr pilot. And it's a really good video. I hope you like it. Thanks a bunch, guys. I hope that was interesting for you. I'll be back soon with more. If you like these videos, please don't miss out. Like and subscribe and hit the little notification thing so you get them each time I release a video. Thanks a bunch. Bye. Big thanks to Hobbyco and Little Robot for their support and for bringing us the best brands and live events from Japan. Support local. A very special thank you to the ever-expanding Epic Brobot Rocket Punch team. You guys truly are epic Brobots. Ivan, Grant, Con, Jack, RJ, Mr. Tweets, Matthias, Peter, Robert, Kelso, Kevin, Derek, Dom, Nick, Danny, John, and special welcomes to the new Epic Brobots, Andy Butcher, who asks that I pronounce his name Frankenstein, Philip Heidlemfers, Jake Fowler, who joined us years back and has come so very far with us, and incredibly, our good mate Pete Hamann, who was our very first supporter, so he's really been especially epic. So much wow, thanks guys! And of course, the Brobot Inner Circle, the awesome folks that make this happen. I couldn't do it without you. Always, thank you so very much. Please join us!